to have you with us for College Football Live with Joey Galloway and Greg McElroy. I'm Wendi Nix. As we make our way through this last week of September, we look at how it started and how it's going. Remember the preseason polls? Well, they look like this, just in case. My, how things have changed. Now let's take a look at this week's college football rankings, brought to you by AT&T 5G. Oregon, Penn State, and Iowa all in the top 5, while Arkansas was the big mover this week, going up 8 spots to number 8. Taking a look at notable storylines after a month of play, Clemson has dropped out of the top 10. That's the first time in almost 6 years, ending the 3rd longest streak in the AP poll era. The Tigers fell to 25th after that NC State loss. How about a positive surprise? Arkansas 4-0 for the first time since 2003. The Razorbacks ranked 8th in the AP poll after not receiving any votes in the preseason poll, thanks to wins over Texas and Texas A&M. Oregon and Penn State both rank in the top 4 of the poll after starting the season outside the top 10. The Ducks moved up with that big win at Ohio State, while the Nittany Lions have ranked wins over Wisconsin and Auburn. And how about this? 25 AP-ranked teams have already lost this season, the most through the first 4 weeks of the season ever. 13 AP-ranked teams have lost to unranked foes this year, the second most through 4 weeks all time. And Greg, I'll start with you. Why are we seeing this turnover?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of things, Wendy, but I would start with the transfer portal. That's probably number one. There have been teams that have already addressed needs and fortified some depth in places that they've never been able to fortify depth before. You see a team like Arkansas, they went out and they got a transfer. Just using one as an example, his name's John Ridgway. He plays nose tackle. He's from Illinois State. That guy's a game wrecker. I'm not saying he single-handedly beat Texas, but I'm saying he was a big reason why. Back in the day, prior to the one-time transfer without penalty, prior to the transfer portal, he would have still been at Illinois State and would have had to have sit out a year before making an impact at Arkansas. So Arkansas would have had to rely on a true freshman. So I think the transfer portal's been huge. And second thing, probably the impact of super seniors. We see teams like Wake Forest, we see teams like Michigan State that have relied not on 5th-year players, but 6th-year players, 7th-year players and sometimes. So I think some of those guys with that veteran presence and some of the young players that have come in via the portal, it's made for some pretty special recipes for a lot of teams.
Look, that veteran leadership matters, whatever the level you're playing. And Joey, I will ask you this. When you see some of these different names at the top of that leaderboard, which in our case is the AP poll, you know, Clemson fans might disagree, but is this good overall for college football?
I think it's great, and I think it's accomplishing sort of what we're talking about. We'll get into later about expanding the playoff, letting more people get involved in this thing. It's sort of happening this season when we only still are at 4 teams getting. But the fact that Penn State, Iowa, Arkansas is now, snipping at the heels, this makes it fun. A lot of people think guys like Greg, guys like myself, are rooting for certain teams and certain conferences to get more teams in. No, our job is way more fun, way more enjoyable, gives us a lot more to talk about when we have a team in the Pac-12 or the Big 12, Big 10. We got a Cincinnati out of the American. This is great for college football, absolutely great for me and Greg, so we get more stuff to talk about, but it's going to be fun to see what happens down the stretch. All these teams, like the Arkansas, Cincinnati's going to play Notre Dame. Arkansas has to still go play Georgia, still has to get through Alabama. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to see if these teams deserve to be where they're ranked right now. But right now it has opened up a much larger conversation about which one of these teams deserves to be in the playoff later on.
I love it. I love the fact that Friday is October 1st, and we're still talking about this many teams and not this many teams as we look toward the end of the season and the postseason.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.